Hello, I'm Jake, aka HamStuff, and today I'm testing Rocket Adventure by YouTuber Kick the PJ. See if it's worth your time, your money, and your effort. And it's doing pretty well on the money front because it's free. 5 stars for that. So this is Rodney, I believe PJ called him. Your little rocket. He flies and he explodes. But he's not meant to explode, you're meant to get him to that green thing over there, which is easier, I find, said than done. You can lift off with space, and A and D, of all things, control rotation. If he touches any walls or the obstacles, then Rodney will explode. As I believe I have amply demonstrated. The skill, I'd say, lies in force vectoring. So he's doing more now. You've got to find the right angle and the right level of thrust to take you over that central pillar onto the platform lit up in green, but well, Rodney seems to have a lot of thrust in him. But with little perseverance, it can be done. Here on the second level, you can see that there are 2 sticky outy pillars one must navigate between. The lava moves up and down slightly, but that doesn't really hinder you a great deal, I don't think. The main problem I found to be... well, once you got past the first pillar, I found the main problem to be that floaty cube that just closes up the gap. It was a matter of precise timing. And the problem is, though, as I said, Rodney has a lot of thrust. A very small input gives him a lot of go. The biggest problem the delay. It seems to be enough time to read a book and watch the film that is made out of it. And yeah, I do occasionally hit caps lock by mistake. It's quite close to A. That's what happens to batshit crazy controls. It takes so damn long. After you press space, it starts to go. I believe it takes into account the full time you've been pressing space. But it just goes... I know it's kind of ironic given the player character, but off like a rocket. But that level 2 can be done. Now here, on level 3, things are slightly different. In that you're lumbered with this enormous box that you've got to carry with you. So a lot of your thrust is curtailed. One thing I found happened is you press to go one way, because you haven't got a lot of thrust compared to your weight anymore, you'll touch down, it will sort of rock you the other way and send you backwards. Or if you fall on the ledge, it'll just tip you over like that. However, even the slightest touch on the ground with the box can lead to kaboominess, to give it a scientific term. And of course, Roddy does still have a lot of momentum when going upwards. Gravity doesn't seem to curtail him that much, especially when there's a wall above you. This took me longer than the first level, but I'd honestly consider it easier. I could modulate my input a lot better due to the added weight of the box. I didn't just go flying off at a million miles an hour. This remains the worst level. The absolute worst. I'm not actually convinced that it can be done. Doing this one took, a decent chunk of time, more than the other three combined. The clip I recorded for this was about an hour and 6 minutes long. More than half, pressing caps like a again by accident, more than half was this level. It's easy enough to get down to that gap. But, well, I think I only ended up in the lava once. Due to the thrust that Rodney has, the lava is pretty easy to avoid. apart from that time. I hesitate to call it an unstable system. It definitely seems that way from a gut feeling, but I don't actually know the definition of one. Because Google just spat out a bunch of utter bollocks and nonsense and meaningless jargon when I asked it what one was. But it's like, you'll go over to one direction, you'll realise you're going too fast that way, you're going to crash, and you go the other way, then you go the other way, and then you go the other way. It tends to just build up to a crescendo of crashing into something and exploding. There seems to be no way to learn from your mistakes. I mean, the input, when you press the spacebar and when the rocket actually goes, it was so awful. I actually walked away from the computer at this point. So rather than continuing, so enjoy this tasteful zoom out. There's a nice fade I put on it. Rather than me attempting any more, because there's only so many times I can ask you to watch a rocket exploding as it hits a wall. So if after walking away, I came back and just realised I can't possibly stomach any more. In a word, frustrating. That's my biggest takeaway from this, how I describe it more than anything. Because PJ is a fellow YouTuber, and he's not a game developer, even he's not like Hello Games, I really wanted to like this, and I did my best to like it. But it's just awful in every regard. I'm not going to fault the graphics, because my favourite game was made in 2000. Well, it was made before 2002. I don't know. It was released in 2002. Oh God, just 20 years ago. That's just hit me. And graphics were just slightly not quite as good back then as they are now. I think 4K probably referred to how much potassium one has in their diet, as opposed to a resolution. But yeah, I mean, things are a little bit square here and there, but maybe that's just what he's working with. Maybe it's what Unity gives you. I think it's of note, but I shan't mark him down for that. One thing, however, I mentioned that the rocket just doesn't respond. There's a delay. That is the worst thing about this game that makes it so damn near unplayable. I mean, Road Trip Adventure, my favourite video game, I've got a video on, was made in 2002, or released in 2002. And 20 years ago, we had better reaction time to video games than this. It does seem, although it's not much of a noticeable delay, but maybe that just makes it all the worse. I press spacebar, then I go and read a book, War and Peace, and the dictionary, and then my rocket decides to move. It's just, the UN has a quicker reaction time than that. I think in fact, the first thing that threw me off wasn't that, it was the controls. A and D are how you go left and right. I have a left and a right button on my keyboard. I've also gone up. That I can spacebar for go or boost, whatever one wishes to call it. Yeah, fair enough, why not? The A and D? To get your rocket in a direction, you don't use directional buttons. And there's no means of customizing your controls at all. So it definitely threw me off. Another thing I mentioned, it's maybe I should applaud him for its amazing technological breakthrough. There were many times where it exploded before I hit a wall. Not when I hit a wall, before. Now, I'm not saying that I wasn't inevitably going to plough into a wall at a million miles an hour and blow up. But I'd like it to explode when I hit the wall. Like, the first thing that happens, you hear the then you see the explosion, and then you hit the wall. So sound is travelling faster than light, which is travelling... I mean, yeah, light does travel faster than the action you perform, but it's... basically the causality is backwards, is what I'm trying to say. But now that's just... the thing I'm hitting are invisible walls. They're definitely big, visible blocks for you to not crash into. But I just wish the explodey points, the line of delineation between death and glory, was at that point. Like in Minecraft, with your Elytra, you fly into a wall, or a cliff, or the side of your house, you're going to be killed. But it happens when you fly into... it doesn't happen the meter before. It was... I can't react quite as well to the walls that I see as I'd like to, because what I'm seeing doesn't have that strong a basis on what happens to me. There were times I went behind a wall, which, okay, I admit that probably helped me out. It's probably advantageous to me. But I don't want to go behind a wall. And I'm happy with blowing up if I... well, maybe not happy, but I accept that I blow up if I hit a wall. I just like it to be when I actually hit, what I can see is a wall. To give you an example, this is my hand. I'd blow up that. So the wall, as it's been drawn, is that. And I spend a lot of time hitting walls, largely because of the horrendous delay in when the rocket actually performs the action you tell it. The imprecision of the controls, and the fact the rocket has, I'd say, too much power. 2 to 3 of these would have been bad. If it was just one of them, I'd probably deal with it a lot easier. But the fact that pressing A and D, press D, your rocket goes sideways, and you go sort of in a direction. The mathematics of the physics is complicated to the point I don't understand, but you go pretty much that way, or if you feather the throttle, gravity tries to pull you down, so it counteracts the up, and you go sideways. That's the aim of the game, in a lot of it. Especially the lava level, which I recorded 1 hour and 6 minutes of video, more than half of which was on the rising and falling lava level, which I'm not convinced is possible. I cannot get this rocket through the gap before the lava. Like, I start as the lava is rising to give myself enough time to get down there, because by the time I'm here, the lava will be lower, and it just rises and explodes me. I walked away from the computer, wondered about a bit, and just thought, I don't want to return to this. I just cannot do any more of it. The whole too much power. I did like the box level. We have to carry a box. It's sort of herky-jerkiness with the... Oh yeah, I mentioned you go sideways. You turn your rocket. You rotate it. Press D, goes that way. Press S, it's that way, then that way, and then D is that. You can't write your rocket again. There are very few things that are better on PC than console. I think this whole Unity make your own little video game is only for PC, so I shan't fault him for that. But if it were possible to do it on console, I think I'd much prefer that. Because the greater precision of that, it just affords greater delineation than a switch of left or right. No ability to... Maybe I don't want to go... I know it's dependent on how long you press the button for. But I press it very briefly, as brief as I can, and for something to happen with the delay. Overall, it takes ages to get any progress until I just found it overwhelmingly effortsome. It's quite possibly the worst game I've ever tested on my channel. Now, I've not tried making a game with this. It might not be PJ's fault. He may have done the absolute best with what he was given. Unity and the game to build with it might just have that level of delay. That might be the only amount of oomph you can get from your rocket. Maybe when you make a wall, it's not necessarily a wall unless you add an invisible barrier, which actually serves as the physical wall, and it's hard to get those in the same place. Maybe he's terrible at designing games. Maybe he did the absolute best anyone could with the tools he had. I don't know. But I don't factor that in. I'm not judging the man, I'm not judging Unity, I'm judging the video game. I said I think it gives 5 stars, or it gets 5 stars, or I will give 5 stars for the price. You cannot get a better price than free. But in terms of how much time it takes to get your rocket across, it's with the delay. It's not even a matter of learning from mistakes. I did notice I tend to mash the spacebar like 3 times in quick succession to go, and you end up hitting a wall. Then I did it twice and crashed into the floor. I can't mash it 2.5 times. It was just awful. If there was a way to have it like the box level, where your thrust is diminished, I actually found that the easiest level. Is it the worst I've done? Yeah, the worst I could possibly ever imagine? Probably not. I think I'll give it a 1 for each. So, I used to pull a racing out of my booty using a gut feeling. I think I'll be a little more scientific now. 5 plus 1 plus 1 equaling 7 divided by 3. 2.3 recurring. I don't think I can give a recurring decibel of stars. I can, however, flip a coin to decide. Actually, here's the coin in question. Fish coin. I don't know where this is from. Republika Hrvatska, and it's 2 Q. It's got a little stoat. Is that a stoat or a ferret? I don't know. Maybe it's I think it has a little Croatian flag. But that is not important. What's important is it even heads or tails? Fish or stoat? Fish for half. Stoat for a whole number. So, with 2.3 recurring stars, I'm going to give it at least either 2 stars or 2.5. Heads, 2.5. Tails, 2. Tails. Rocket Adventure. I rate as 2 stars out of 5.